My name is Mark Wilson. I farm in northwestern Illinois, a little town called Toulon, and I'm the seventh generation on our farm, and I raised my family here. We have about 1,000 acres of crop ground. We have some hogs and a few cattle. The cattle were there to give my kids some work ethic experience, and the kids have grown up and graduated, and so I guess I'm still learning how to work. So I'm still doing the cattle. But anyway, um, just a little bit about the climate here, what happened this year on our farm. We had right here in this area of Illinois, we had really good weather most of the year. We had a little dry spell early, and then they had a little bit of rain, and it caused a little bit of ponding, but not enough to hurt the crops. And then we had just enough rain throughout the rest of the year, good sunlight, and it's going to be probably my best crop I've ever raised as far as corn is concerned. There's different parts. I don't know if you're familiar with Illinois, but Illinois is a pretty long state, north to south. The northern part of the state is a little cooler climates, a little more rolling ground up there, and a little more livestock up in that area, more dairies and some more cattle operations than what else. Central Illinois, which is from about where I am south all the way to Springfield, that's probably the highest production area. The best soils are in that, deep black soils are in that area, and they can raise extremely good crops in that area. And then you go down to southern Illinois, anything south of Champaign, the soils get a little more timber soil, which means they have a little more clay in them. They can still raise very good crops down there, but the weather has to cooperate a little bit more down there because that timber soil, if it gets hot real fast and it's wet and then turns hot, that can turn into almost like concrete, very hard soil, holds on to the moisture real well. So they need moisture pretty much year round to go a good crop. But down there, they can raise two crops because they can plant wheat in the winter because they're planting that right now, or they're basically done planting the wheat in southern Illinois. And then they'll harvest that in the early part of summer and then turn around and plant soybeans after that. So they have the advantage of that we cannot do up here where we are because it just won't work. But they can raise very good crops down there also. As far as my yields this year and grain quality, like I said earlier, it's probably the best year of corn I've ever had. I had one field that I just finished this week, and it was coming out of the field at 15.4% moisture, which is really good. It was 61-pound test weight, and it was just beautiful corn. And a lot of our corn came out under 20% this year. So I really didn't have to do much, but just run air on it through the dryer to get it down, maybe just a slight bit of heat. But I didn't really have much problem with wet corn this year. I know there's some areas where they got in late and they had a little more trouble with their corn being wet coming out of the fields. I think some people are still saying it's around 20%. But still, overall, that's very good. I've heard some talk that, people wondering about mycotoxins and things like that. I think most of the state of Illinois and most of the main corn belt doesn't really have much problem with mycotoxins this year. Usually that's a problem where you have Texas has some problems usually sometimes with that. But we're not seeing much of that in our area. We didn't really see a lot of disease period this year because disease usually comes when you have a lot of moisture and a lot of moisture in the air, and we didn't really have that. It stayed dry most of the time, but we had just enough to do what we wanted. And I think as of Monday, Illinois was 78% harvested on corn. Around my area right here, we're probably closer to 90-95% harvested. A lot of guys are done. Conservation practices, we are striving to be as sustainable as we can because we know that, it's better for my farm if I can be sustainable, try to pass it down to future generations, future people coming in this. We need to keep our soil. We need to keep everything as in as good a shape as we can so the next generation has good quality land and can raise crops because this is something we want to continue on for a long time. So, I just was talking to my hired man on the phone, and we're have seeding in a waterway. We just rebuild a waterway because every now and then you have to rebuild them because they do what they're supposed to do. They slow the water down, causes the dirt that may be in it to settle out, and then that causes the waterway all of a sudden to be bigger and bigger, taller and taller. And then every now and then you have to dig it back out and reshape it. So we're constantly doing things like that to help prevent soil erosion. We do a lot of no-till and those type of things, conservation tillage, those things to keep that from going on. Exports, exports in Illinois, are vital. We've got the Mississippi, we got the Illinois rivers. Illinois runs right through the middle of the state, and most all my soybeans go down the Illinois River. Most of my corn will go to an ethanol plant, be made into ethanol. Some of that will go down the river. So river is very important to us. And right now, because we have been so dry here in the last couple months, which made the harvest go very well, I might add, that we didn't have too many rain delays, but it has caused the rivers to go to a very shallow. They're very shallow right now, which causes trouble with the barges going downriver. They can't put as much on a barge because the river is running low and they don't want to scrape the bottom. So they're having to put less on each barge, which causes the cost per barge to be higher. And so that slows down the whole process. But we get some rains coming in here in the winter. We get some more rains in, and hopefully we get some. There's supposed to be rain this Thursday, but we can get some more rain and get that water level back up so we can export the way we should. I know in the last infrastructure bill that the federal government passed, we're going to rebuild we're going to build new one hole lock, a 1,200-foot lock, and possibly a second one on the Mississippi, lower Mississippi. And so that really speeds the process up. So right now we have 600-foot locks on many of them in Illinois, on the Illinois and Mississippi, and the barges are 1,200 feet long. So when a barge pulls up, they have to unlock half the barge and then go move half of it through and then come back, hook back up to the other part, lock it through, and then hook back up, and then they go on down to the next locks. So that if they put the 1,200-foot locks in, which is what they're doing, they can just pull straight in, be lifted up or lowered down, and then they go straight on. And it really saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of money, and it's better for the environment because they're not using that diesel to move the barges back and forth as much. So that's going to be a real boom, make it cheaper to haul grain out and more efficient so we can haul it faster. People talked about, I think I mentioned earlier about the disease. We really didn't have much. We do spray for tar spot. We spray for gray leaf spot, those type of fungicide. We're pretty much doing that on all our acres now, just to make sure that if it does come in, we've got ourselves covered. But we didn't see a whole lot, and we always leave a check area, and we didn't see much difference from where we checked and where we didn't check. But where we sprayed and where we didn't spray. So we'll still go ahead, continue to spray because it always seems to pay off. But I look forward to answering any questions you may have for me a little later. And I appreciate all your business. I appreciate you buying our product. It allows us to continue to farm and do what we love to do. And I just really appreciate your business. Thank you very much.